On to Teacher Tip Thursday webinar series sponsored by CTAT. I'm Mike Hill, the Director of Learning Centers and Learning Support, former Director of CTAT, and someone who's spent a lot of time working with technology. It may seem strange. I'm presenting a webinar on low-tech tips for engaging our students. Something I was reading just recently from Moving On, a little factoid that of the 6 billion people in the world, 4.8 billion have a mobile phone, but only 4.2 billion own a toothbrush. And I think it's obvious we and our students are very much tied to our technology. We always have our phones with us. We often carry a laptop with us. Of my 23 students in class, another 3 or 4 have e-readers or other tablets. So it does seem counterintuitive for me to promote low-tech teaching tips, but I think there's still a place for it. We have to keep in mind not all of our students have the same access to technology that we might or that one another might. Also, if the bottom line is that we are going to engage our students, I think we need to try to do that on all fronts and really minimize reliance on gadgetry, simply because even with proponents of mobile technology and our current I Want an iPad campaign to get iPads in the hands of faculty, everyone advocates not treating the device as an end, but as a means to an end, which is student engagement and student learning. So hopefully the low-tech tips can play a part in that. And I think even though the examples I'll use are drawn from my English class, that they could be adapted to any number of other disciplines. And you'll also see that I'm going to be using library resources so that we can do several fronts at once. We can hook them up with resources that are available simply with an internet connection, and also ask them to do critical thinking, which is always a challenge. So I'm going to pull up a couple of examples that I've used and have used quite well. Um, Something that's in the news now, and for Comp 1, and I would imagine any other course, we want our students to learn more than just our core discipline. We want them to be exposed to lots of new ideas, get them outside their immediate comfort zone. And every fall, fortunately, the Nobel Prize for Literature is awarded in October. And there are, oddly enough, people in the world who place bets on the winners. I think they're all located in Britain, but the Britain betting houses, British betting houses, all offer odds on who the winners will be. And I try to go out and gather in a few articles based on who are perceived as the front runners that year. And here, for instance, one of the front runners this year is Ngugi, who is a Kenyan author, very political. I don't necessarily expect my students to read any of his work or more than just a snippet, but if this is a leading force in world literature, I think it's not doing them any harm to get to know him. Beyond that, what I ask them to do is quite simply, and clicked on the wrong thing, sorry, I've got several tabs open, but what I do is to ask them to look at a Nobel Prize contender, and I create some of links inside Momentum to various articles, and I ask simply, hey, this is going on in the world. It's a very short little assignment, 300, 350 words. Look at some of these articles and some of the front runners. You can use Wikipedia, you can use library resources such as biography online, the biographical database, contemporary biography. Find out something about the writer, his or her background, his or her history. I don't mind them using Wikipedia. I know they're going to anyway. Beyond that, what I ask them to do is look in the library databases, see in the print collection if we have works by that author, or in the ebook collection. If they do not, and there Robert is providing our biography and context database link, and maybe he's going to test it to see if perhaps we actually have anything about Ngugi, and he does only go by the first name. He's been doing that since the days of the Mau Mau. So see if we do have anything about Ngugi in the database. This can be a learning experience for you all too. And you can play around with this while you're listening to me. But I asked them, go check out what you can, any available resources, either library links, Wikipedia. Find out something about this writer. Then look in the library's print collection or the ebook collection, see if we have works by that writer. And yes, he is there in the biography and context database, so that's good to know. I also tell them they can go to Amazon and read samples of the works. They might even find something, a short work in Literature Resource Center or the LitFinder database. So they're involved with some research early on and getting used to research conventions, doing some critical thinking because they're having to read various sources and try to put pieces together and build an argument. Why will, for instance, Ngugi win the Nobel Prize? Then for a little further incentive, I have this due, in fact, this semester. It's already been turned into the Dropbox, but in October, come October, if person selected the winner, he or she gets an additional 10 points as a bonus. So we can accomplish a lot of things with a few clicks of the mouse, not involving a lot of technology, but at the same time, it plays in those look at Wikipedia all the time, even instructors, despite that Wikipedia is the work of the devil. She quotes Wikipedia to me with great regularity. We don't necessarily put all of our stock in it, but we certainly use it for quick reference, and I know our students will use it for that. If we're teaching critical thinking skills, we want to make sure they understand why it's not necessarily the best or the only source. But I've built assignments, and this is an actual sample essay. I've always done sample essays along with my students. My video froze. Sorry. Is it working now? Okay. All right. Maybe it was just I was frozen and wasn't moving. Um, and Terry is typing, so I'll see what she has to weigh in on. The audio stopped too when the video froze. Okay. We may just have to do a repeat of this webinar at some point, or maybe I can just come and visit with all of you. But everything's working now? Okay, good. Okay, can everyone see the sample essay that I have up here for Cool Papa Bell and Josh Gibson? Okay, wonderful. Okay, this is an assignment that I've tried to promote with some regularity to get students thinking about making critical distinctions between types of research. And rather than just say Wikipedia is fine or Wikipedia is not, to draw some very concrete conclusions about quality, accessibility, currency of the information. So I have them pick a topic of their choice. And apparently I have fans. Everyone's wanting a visit. But I have them pick a topic of their choice and ask them, you're not really writing about this topic per se. You're writing about the steps you took to gather up the information. And for whatever reason, I typically tend to have baseball players in my 8 o'clock classes. And so this was actually a model essay that was geared toward them to try and engage them. So that the assignment is look at Wikipedia and compare it to a traditional reference database, ideally a hard copy one such as Britannica. The Harriman campus has Britannica on the reference shelves. I do supply for them the catalog entry that shows how dreadfully expensive it is. Oh, and Oak Ridge too. I'm sorry, I should have known that. Yes, the truth is it is dreadfully expensive, even more expensive than a Brooks Brothers suit. I'm thinking last I looked, it was about $1,800 or maybe closer to $2,000. So to look at the two, pick the topic, in this case, baseball, look at what you can locate via Wikipedia, what you can locate via Britannica, and think about, okay, how current is it? One thing in this case, this is from a few years ago, the Wikipedia article was modified within a week of working on this with them in class. Current information versus the printed Britannica. I then try my best to get our students to use sources that are available to them here, such as the library. And I ask them, after you've looked through all of these sources, evaluated them, discussed the different approaches to the material, you have to find something from the library collection, whether it's a print text, an ebook, or an article in a database, and actually vet the information you found with that clearly scholarly appropriate source. And so in this case, I just did 2 baseball players from the Negro Leagues, Cool Papa Bell and Josh Gibson. Did, of course, what I wanted them to do, which was start out with the purpose of the paper, to look at the research methods. And Terry, this might have some very tentative relation to what maybe you have your students do with some OTA articles, looking at the review of literature and the scholarly methods for determining the validity of an article. I had them outline for me their research steps. To locate these 2 players, all I had to do was type their names in the search box versus looking at what they found in Britannica and the steps they took to look it up. It's good practice for them later in the semester when they have a full-blown research paper. So, I mean, trying to engage them. Oh, okay. And Laura Vaughn, of course, helps out with that. I do hope, Robert, you'll make her watch this webinar so she can see Terry's compliment. Yes, she does rock, and so does Ollie. And believe me, I could go on and on, but we're only going to be here for another few minutes. But actually getting them into the library, getting them into the collection, getting them on the web to do some research, thinking about all the various steps that they go through, getting some practice with research conventions. I make them do quotations, and you can see you can get a nice size paper out of it. Because this is a research assignment, just like the Nobel Prize essay, they actually get some help, some practice with MLA formatting. Now, the reason I say these could be adapted to lots of different disciplines, I'm thinking with the Nobel Prize for literature, for chemistry, for medicine, you could direct them to some of the contenders for the prize in those fields. They're learning something beyond just the core information in the class. And I hope, at least, that because they're actually getting out on the web, even if it's in a very low-tech way, maybe they're going to keep linking out. They're going to learn something along the way. Their natural curiosity is going to overtake them, and they will start doing some research despite themselves. Similarly, the Wikipedia assignment might be adapted to a variety of different disciplines. You could just direct students to pick which topics to cover. I think that certainly could be something worth playing with. The other thing, of course, is to make it, and I think the library learning centers in the past at some of the in-service have actually tried to turn in-service into a game and looked at, Jeopardy as a model. You could do this with your students. You could send them out on scavenger hunts or do trivia. Uh, Let me ask my small audience. Other than her film career and her nude scene in an early Czech film, what is Hedy Lamarr known for? You have 5 seconds. Okay, maybe make that 10. Terry Gergen is typing. Yes, she is before all of our time, but you have to make sure your students are aware that relevancy does not start with the date of their birth. Robert Benson's typing. Math, yes. Wonderful. Hedy Lamarr is actually credited with coming up with the foundation for a huge amount of technology, even though there wasn't actually the technology to build, say, oh, and you went to Wikipedia, you didn't go to biography and context. You could probably find it both places. She's credited with Wi-Fi, cell phones, actually. So, see, you could get them, interested about math. It's not just I have to get through in college. It's actually something that famous people, beautiful even, have engaged in. It's not just for nerds. And Terry is now typing. Cheaters never prosper. Okay. And, if you have students who are going to cheat, even though this was a scavenger hunt to see how well you could engage with low-tech tools very quickly, I'm not sure that's cheating. Nerds are beautiful too. That was directed to Robert. Okay. I should stop reading the chat and just continue on. These were a couple of examples. I mentioned the scavenger hunt. I have actually sent students out with their phones, their camera phones, and asked them to find examples of improper punctuation, misspellings on signs or billboards. And again, it's something that ideally does teach a lesson pertaining to the discipline at hand, but it also engages them. They're actually doing something. They have to, in that case, know that if you were to go to an adjacent town to Harriman and look for Two Chefs Catering, that there really should not, be an apostrophe where there is in that sign. Some of my students have, taken pictures just at random and said, I think, but a lot of them have actually then gone back to Keys for Writers and tried to verify. So, again, the goal of Teacher Tip is to keep this short and sweet. Just wanting to give you a few quick examples. Hope that it's been helpful. Before we close, any questions, any comments? I can give people the microphone. Excuse me. Any questions? Anything else that I could cover for you? I'll try to behave better next time. No, Terry, please don't. Thank you. Wonderful. I need applause. I probably should go back and edit out the name of that local business because of they might sue me. I don't know. I am actually one of the library's main advocates, let me tell you. Even though I don't always return my books on time, I do check them out. Robert is shocked either that someone is checking out books or that I don't return mine on time. I'm not sure which. Or he might have overheard Susan in the background saying, I don't return mine on time either. Okay, next webinar. Next webinar. Is there an announcement coming up for it? A plug? Okay. Susan's just informed me that. Oh, Robert says the next webinar will be how to check out and return library books on time. Okay, Library 101. We've been doing iPad 101. Now we'll be Library 101. Good. Susan did inform me that the next webinar will be on the use of AirServer, which, as many of you know, is an alternative to Apple TV for sharing out what is on your iPad. And I will wait patiently for Susan to finish typing. I think I'll go back to the pretty dahlias now. There. Okay, so your screen cannot be hijacked. Think that actually happened purely by accident with someone entering an incorrect room number recently with the adjacent classroom. So that's another reason to go with low tech sometimes. You never, quite know what will happen. I don't know that it's possible to hijack Adobe Connect. But thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day, and I'm out of here.